You know that feeling when a strategy finally clicks, when the chart looks clean, when everything makes sense, at least for a moment, and then, on another day, with the same setup, the same pattern, the same rules, you hesitate, you doubt, you jump in too early or too late, or you break your own plan even though you promised yourself you wouldn't. Why does the same you trade differently, depending on the day? Here's the truth most traders avoid. It was never the market, it was never the strategy, it was never the conditions. It was the state of mind you brought into the moment. Mark Douglas said it clearly. Your very best trades were effortless. Not because the market was easy, but because you were aligned. That's what this video is about. Not strategy, perfection, not timing, not secret indicators. It's about the part of trading. You've tried to ignore the part staring back at you, like a mirror every time you sit down in front of the screen. Because until you understand why your mind shifts from calm to chaos, from disciplined to impulsive, you will keep reliving the same day with different charts. So before we go any deeper, ask yourself one question. If consistency truly comes from the mind, then what part of me is shaping every trade I take? Hold that thought. Because once you see the real answer, nothing about the way you trade will ever feel the same. Take a breath. Look at where you are right now. Not the chart, not the setup, you. Because every trader reaches a point where they realize the struggle was never technical. It was internal, quiet, persistent, uncomfortable. You want to be consistent. You want discipline. You want to trade with calm clarity. But there's another part of you, a part that tightens your chest. When price moves against you, a part that whispers doubt. Exactly when you need confidence the most. This is the conflict Mark Douglas talked about. Not a conflict with the market, but a conflict within yourself. Think about the last time you broke a rule. You knew exactly what you were supposed to do. You knew the plan. You knew the risk. But something inside you pushed your hand, sped up your decision, or froze you completely. That something is the real opponent, not volatility, not the algorithm, not the news. It's the part of your mind that hasn't caught up to your goals yet. The beliefs, fears, and old emotional patterns, still trying to protect you from a threat that doesn't exist. Douglas said, you don't trade the market. You trade your beliefs about the market. And those beliefs, some empowering, some hidden, some contradicting each other, shape every action you take. This is why 2 different days with the same system create 2 completely different versions of you. One day you're calm, present, steady. Another day you're reactive, chaotic, defensive. Same chart, same strategy, different state of mind. And if you look closely, very closely, you'll see the patterns aren't on the screen, they're inside you. Because consistency isn't a skill you earn, it's a state you access. When your beliefs, emotions, and intentions stop pulling in opposite directions. Before we continue, I want you to notice something. Every moment you've struggled in trading comes from this silent war between the trader you want to be and the fears you still carry. And that war, if you're honest, has been going on longer than you admit. But this conflict didn't appear out of nowhere. There is a reason you keep hesitating, a reason you keep sabotaging your best setups, a reason consistency feels just out of reach. And to see it clearly, we need to step deeper into the mind, into the place where this battle truly begins. There's a moment every trader knows, the moment when your mind splits in 2. One part of you is clear, calm, logical. It sees the setup, it knows the risk, it recognizes the opportunity. And then there's the other part, the part that tightens your breathing the second price moves against you. The part that whispers, don't miss it, right before you chase. The part that screams, get out now, even though nothing has changed. But your emotions. This is the war most traders never talk about, the war inside their own mind. Mark Douglas explained why it feels so intense. Fear limits perception. When fear enters the room, Your world narrows. You don't see the full picture anymore. You only see danger, even when danger isn't truly there. It's like standing in front of a mirror that's cracked down the center. You see yourself, but not all of you. Only the distorted pieces. And when your perception is distorted, your decisions follow. Think about the times you entered too early. Was it because the chart told you to, or because your fear of missing out was louder than your plan? Think about the times you didn't cut the loss. Was it because the market was giving you a signal, or because the belief, I can't accept being wrong, took control of your hand? Because here's the truth. Most traders avoid hearing. Every trading error you make is the expression of a belief you haven't faced yet. Not a lack of knowledge, not a lack of strategy, a belief. A belief that says losing is unacceptable. A belief that says gains must be protected at all costs. A belief that says you can't trust yourself, even when your system works. And these beliefs don't disappear just because you learned a new indicator or refined your entry. They sit underneath everything you do, silent, persistent, shaping your reactions before you even realize they're there. That's why your hand clicks faster than your logic. That's why your stop loss feels heavier than usual. That's why hesitation creeps in. Even when the setup is obvious, you are not trading the market. You are trading your conditioning. And conditioning is powerful. It comes from childhood, from memories of failure, from moments you felt judged, punished, or not enough. It doesn't matter how old you are now. Those old experiences still run in the background, like invisible software. And the market, with all its uncertainty and freedom, is the perfect environment for those old patterns to reappear. That's why trading feels personal, because it is. It reflects every unresolved piece of you onto the screen. But here's the twist, and it's the part no trader expects. This internal war doesn't destroy you. It reveals you. It shows you the exact beliefs standing between you and the trader you want to become. And once you see those beliefs clearly, the real battle begins. The battle against the illusions your mind created to protect you. But there's another trap, far more subtle, far more seductive, that keeps this war alive. There's a moment in every trader's journey when the internal war turns into something trickier, a trap that looks like progress, but quietly pulls you backward. It's the chase for perfection. You know exactly how it happens. A losing day hurts more than it should, so you go hunting for the missing piece. A new indicator, a new strategy, a better confirmation, a smoother entry, a tighter stop. It feels productive. It feels rational. It feels like you're improving, but you're not. You're escaping. Because deep down, you're not looking for a better system. You're looking for a system that protects you from your own emotions. A system so perfect, it won't trigger fear, won't trigger doubt, won't trigger the pain you haven't resolved. And the market becomes a place where you negotiate with discomfort instead of facing it. Mark Douglas warned about this exact illusion. He said your very best trades were effortless. Not because the strategy was flawless, but because you were aligned. The market didn't change. The system didn't suddenly improve. Your mind did. But when you chase perfection, you forget that. You try to fix behavior by changing tools instead of beliefs. And perfection becomes a moving target, the kind you never reach, but always feel one step away from. You tweak entries. You widen stops. You narrow stops. You backtest for hours, hoping the past will promise you a future free of uncertainty. You convince yourself that one more rule will stop the emotional mistakes. One more filter will remove the fear. One more pattern will make the chaos meaningful. But you know the truth. No system can save you from a mind out of alignment. Because inconsistency doesn't come from strategy flaws. It comes from internal contradictions. Wanting to win, but fearing the pain of being wrong. Wanting freedom, but craving certainty. Wanting growth, but avoiding discomfort. Perfection magnifies these contradictions. The more you try to control the market, the more the market exposes how little control you actually have. And that tension that desperate need for everything to line up, creates the exact emotional volatility you were trying to escape. You stop trading what you see and start trading what you fear. You wait for the perfect candle. You avoid valid setups, or you force invalid ones, because the silence feels worse than risk. And with each decision, you drift further from yourself. The irony is painful. The more you chase the perfect system, the further you get from the consistent trader you're trying to become. Because consistency was never the reward for mastering the market. It was the result of mastering yourself. But here's the thing, and this is the turning point. If perfection can't give you stability, then what can? What creates that effortless clarity Douglas talked about? What makes discipline natural instead of forced? What makes trading feel calm, even when the market isn't? The answer isn't in the system. It's in the shift, the mental shift that changes the entire way you experience the market. And once you understand that shift, everything else starts to fall into place. At some point, every trader reaches a crossroads. On one side is the path you've walked for years, the path of control, tension, perfection, fear, the path where you try to bend the market to fit your expectations, your timing, your emotional comfort. On the other side is something quieter, simpler, something most traders overlook because it doesn't feel dramatic enough to count as progress. It's the shift from control to alignment, alignment with uncertainty, alignment with your rules, alignment with your identity as a trader, and that shift changes everything. You see, Mark Douglas said something. Most traders read, but never truly absorb. Accepting the risk means accepting the consequences without emotional discomfort. Most traders think acceptance is intellectual, just a sentence, just a mindset, just another principle on a checklist. But acceptance is deeper than that. Acceptance is emotional, physical, felt. It's the moment when a losing trade doesn't feel like a personal failure, when a missed setup doesn't trigger regret, when a stop loss doesn't ignite panic, when a winning trade doesn't inflate your ego into something reckless. Acceptance is the calm that gives birth to clarity. And clarity is what makes consistency possible. Think of your mind like water. When the water is shaken, full of fear, frustration, tension, the reflection becomes distorted. You can't see the chart clearly because you can't see yourself clearly. But when the water settles, the reflection sharpens. The truth becomes visible and trading becomes simple again. Not because the market got easier, but because you stopped fighting it. This is alignment. It's not passive. It's not surrender. It's not giving up control. It's recognizing you never had control to begin with. Not over outcomes, not over volatility, not over what any candle does next, but you always had control over one thing: yourself, your beliefs, your expectations, your interpretations, your reactions. Douglas wrote that the best traders trade in a state of mind where nothing the market does feels threatening. Nothing. Not because they're fearless, but because they're aligned. Their mindset matches the nature of the market. Uncertain, ever-changing, imperfect, unique. Every moment is new. And because they accept that, they don't try to force certainty into a space that doesn't allow it. Let me give you a case study. There was a trader, let's call him Jordan, who spent years tweaking strategies, collecting indicators, buying courses. He wasn't greedy. He wasn't careless. He was simply searching for something that didn't exist. One day, after a streak of revenge trades, he closed his platform, sat in silence, and wrote a single sentence on a sticky note. I can't trade well when I'm trying to protect my ego. That was his turning point. He stopped chasing certainty and started practicing acceptance. He stopped forcing trades and started letting opportunities come to him. He stopped fighting the market and started aligning with probability. The result wasn't dramatic. No explosive equity curve. No overnight breakthrough. It was subtle, calm entries, clean exits, steady decisions, consistent execution. Not because his system changed, because he changed. This is the shift every trader must make to reach consistency. But here's the beautiful part. Once you stop needing certainty, discipline stops feeling like discipline. Rules stop feeling like restrictions. Losses stop feeling like threats. And trading stops feeling like war. You're not forcing yourself to be consistent. You're simply removing the internal friction that kept you inconsistent in the first place. And suddenly, almost effortlessly, your actions, your beliefs, and your intentions begin to move in the same direction. That is alignment. That is clarity. That is consistency. But the moment everything becomes clear is still ahead. Because there's a point where all of this inner work comes together in a single realization, a realization that changes the entire way you experience the market. And that moment is where your true freedom begins. There comes a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when everything you've been wrestling with finally settles. It doesn't feel dramatic. It doesn't feel like a breakthrough movie scene. It feels like a soft exhale, a gentle unclenching inside your chest. And suddenly, trading looks different. Not easier, just clearer. Because for the first time, you're not trying to force certainty onto something that was never meant to be certain. You're not fighting the market's nature with your expectations. You're not interpreting every candle as a judgment of your worth. You're just here, present, aligned. This is the moment the puzzle clicks. You look at the chart and realize there was never a monster hiding in it. It was a mirror, reflecting the fear you brought, the doubt you carried, the pressure you kept putting on yourself. And now, with that emotional weight gone, you begin to see what the market has been showing you from the very beginning. Each moment is unique. Anything can happen. And that's not a threat. It's freedom. The freedom to take a trade without needing it to be right. The freedom to exit a loss without feeling wounded. The freedom to win without becoming reckless. You start acting differently. Not because you're trying harder, but because there's no longer an internal conflict pulling you in opposite directions. Your actions match your rules. Your rules match your beliefs. Your beliefs match reality. And this alignment, this inner coherence, is what makes trading feel effortless. Not easy, effortless. Mark Douglas said the best trades felt like they executed themselves. And now you understand why. When the mind is clear, the hand follows. When the mind is calm, discipline becomes natural. When the mind is aligned, consistency is no longer something you chase, it's something you are. And once you feel that, once you experience that split second of clarity, there's only one question left. Are you ready to choose the trader you want to become? Not by changing the market, but by changing the way you meet it? So now the moment comes back to you. Not the chart, not the setup, you. After everything we've explored together, the fears, the contradictions, the silent battles, the way the market mirrors the mind, there's one question you can't avoid anymore. What kind of trader do you want to be when no one is watching? Not the trader who reacts, not the trader who chases, not the trader who hides from discomfort, but the trader who understands that consistency begins long before the trade is placed. If this video stirred something in you, even a small shift, a small pause, a small sense of clarity, don't ignore it. Lean into it. Because this inner work isn't finished. It never really is. But each step you take toward awareness makes the next step easier. If you want to keep exploring this journey, the mindset, the alignment, the belief work. The next video in this series dives deeper into how traders build natural discipline without force. But only you can decide whether this is just another video or the beginning of the trader you are meant to become. Take one last look at the screen in front of you, the candles, the noise, the movement. Now look at what's behind it. Not price, not volatility, not opportunity, you. Because the truth you've uncovered tonight is simple and quiet. The market didn't change. You did. Your perception shifted. Your awareness sharpened. The weight you used to carry, the fear, the tension, the need for certainty became lighter, clearer, more honest. And for the first time, you're starting to see the market for what it really is. Information. Neutral. Impersonal. A mirror. It reflects back the energy you bring to it. Your beliefs, your expectations, your emotional state. But now, the reflection is different. Calmer. More grounded. More aligned. And as you continue this journey, remember this. Consistency isn't something you master once. It's a state of mind you return to again and again, each time you sit down to trade. So when the next candle prints, don't ask, what will the market do? Ask instead, who am I bringing to this moment? Because that answer will tell you everything.